Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hand. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found.
Hello and welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 16th show, and tonight we'll be speaking about the shift in human consciousness. My name is Traci Crampton. I'm a Reiki and EFT practitioner.
And my name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm a Reiki practitioner. And we have with us tonight two wonderful guests. We have Wildcat and Susan Gale. And let me read you their bio, a little bit about them. Wildcat was born on the Navajo Hopi Reservation in Arizona and was raised by his grandfather and the spiritual elders to walk with a spirit from a young age. He currently works at a Place of Light as a co-director, providing spiritual guidance and healing for those who are in need. Susan has been a teacher and creator of environments for children of all ages her entire adult life. She currently works at a Place of Light as a co-director, providing spiritual guidance and information to those who are seeking answers. Basically, what they teach is how to live within one's heart. Everything we do stems from that concept. We can speak to many things related to spiritual living through this. Welcome.
Thank you.
So nice for you to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, first we'd like to give our viewers a little bit of background about you, how you got into this work at your Place of Light, and if you could tell us a little bit about that. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
A Place of Light started because of an interaction that I had with a 3-year-old boy who had been labeled as autistic. And he was a telepath. He was not autistic. He didn't want to be bothered with this slow and clumsy way of speaking out loud. He wanted to go thought to thought. And so I brought in my son, who is a telepath at will, to speak with him. And then he sat him on his lap and started talking to him, and the little boy was going, and I said, what is he doing? He said, he's trying to figure out where the words are coming from. So they talked, and he really didn't want to be bothered with talking out loud at all, because it was, as he said, so slow and clumsy. And my son explained to him he had to be bilingual. He had to be both a telepath and be able to speak out loud if he wanted to get along with people. And he saw the logic of this and began to speak. And within a month's time, he had a vocabulary of about 50 words from going to not speaking at all. And so that was very good. So from him, I'm wondering, how many people are we losing because we're not recognizing who they are? We're trying to fit them into these little labels and boxes that the academic world has, and so we're losing them. So we started a Place of Light, and then about a year and a half after we started, Wildcat came. Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Well, I came to the Place of Light because of my son. We asked him, because he was getting ready to go into kindergarten, and we knew he wasn't going to be able to fit in. He was very gifted, and he was seeing spirits and stuff like that most children do see, but how you say, are not allowed to express it. And I wasn't going to allow my son to have to go through that. So I asked him, I said, do you know of a place that you would like to go to school to? And I said, I'll see about being able to take you there. He said, yes, a Place of Light.
He knew about this?
Yes.
He knew about it already?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So we looked on the internet, and we found a Place of Light in Cherry Valley, and they were having a potluck that following weekend, so we made arrangements to go there. And on the way there, we forgot directions. So I told him, it's your turn to use your gifts and help us get there. I said, you tell me which way to go, left or right, and I'll go. So he did, and he got us there. So when we got there, we went in and enjoyed it, and it was a very loving, peaceful place to be. So I started helping out a little bit more and doing things there, and she taught me to start doing some readings, and we went to other places where they were showing movies and stuff, and she was ill at the time, so she couldn't do readings and stuff, and so she asked me to step in, and ever since then I just always been there and always helped, and I'll be there until Spirit tells me otherwise.
So the work that you do there, if you describe it to the audience, someone wanted to come up to see you, or do people actually live there with you, and or
Well,
what is it?
people come and visit with us for an hour, hour and a half, and sometimes families come and visit with us for a whole day or 2 days, and we just help them find their true self. We help them to live within their heart and not be concerned about living in a way that other people expect them to live, but to look into their heart, see what it is that they truly are to be, and to trust that, and to be one with that, and not to be worried about what others think they should be or how they should fit into society. And that's what we teach.
That's wonderful,
It's
isn't it?
really unconditional love.
Yeah.
We also teach parents how to work with their children so that their children don't lose their abilities. So many people will tell their children, oh, that's just your imagination. I know when one example I use a lot was when my son was 4 and came to me, and it was just the 2 of us in the house, physical people. He said, I just finished talking to the nicest man. And I said, well, who? He says, well, I don't know, but he said to tell you he was sorry that he didn't get to tell you goodbye. And I said, well, who is it? He says, I really don't know, but I know where there's a picture of him. And he showed me a picture of my father. Now, my father had died when I was 13, and I never got to tell him goodbye. And I never told anybody that. He went into a coma and then he died, and I never got to see him one last time to speak to him. And it had always bothered me, but I had never told anyone about that. So he had come back to visit my son to let me know. He was sorry too. And so many parents would have said, there's nobody in here. What are you doing talking about you talking to some man? You're making this up. And look at the message that I would have lost if I had had that reaction.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. I have here 2 books that you co-authored. The first one is Supporting Intuitive Children, Psycho Children.
Psychic.
Psycho.
Psycho.
Okay, sorry. Let's start
Put your
over
glasses
again.
back on, honey.
Yep, my glasses. Psychic Children.
All right.
We're going to get a close-up of this in just a few seconds. There you go.
Perfect.
Psychic Children. And Soulful Parenting. Okay. Now, can these be bought on the web or by going to your...
Yeah, they can be bought at Amazon.com
Okay.
or AREbookstore.com.
Okay. And let's see.
It's the other book.
The other book. Okay. There was a dedication in here that Susan thought would be nice to read to the audience. And it's from Susan. And it reads like this. The words in this book came from a lifetime of experience, but they were written with a child named Sarah in mind. Often she would provide guidance on different parts and has taught much about the meshing of the soul self with the physical self. We speak nearly every day across the 100+ miles that separate us, and I grow from our time together. She was 2 years old as this book was being written, but that is only the age of the physical body. Like each of us, her soul is as ancient as the beginning, and she remembers much from her beginning. These words are dedicated to her and all the others who remember and share so much with everyone who is seeking to become one with all that is. That's beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
that's what we do. And that's how we see children, not as being a baby 2-year-old, but an ancient soul that remembers. And that's how Wildcat was raised, to remember his ancient self.
Right.
Never to forget. And it's the way we should all be raised, and a way that we should all have an understanding, because if you're raised that way and you walk in your heart, you're in harmony with all things. You can understand somebody's emotions and their feelings and why they're hurting for different reasons, how you could help them even within just a touch.
You're right.
Absolutely.
You know, I teach spirituality class and privately, and there are so many people who tell me that they have these gifts. They've had them since they were young and had no one to talk to. I was one. I saw spirit when I was young and communicated with animals, but I had no one to talk to about it. And when I tried, they patronized me. I didn't know what that was as a child then, but I knew now. I know
the
now what it
feeling
was.
of it, right.
Yeah, and you had the same thing, right, Traci?
Similar.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
well, I think that, there's just an overall feeling that, certain subjects aren't discussed, or if it's
Yeah.
not seen, you don't talk about it. And
Well, it was very hard
made a
for me
very-
too.
wonderful decision to bring your son.
It was very hard for me too, because when I came into society and started living in towns and cities and stuff, trying to adapt to other people, because in their way of looking at things and seeing things and feeling emotions is all up in their mind, not their heart. I've been in grocery stores when spirits have came to me and asked me to tell this lady it was okay for her to move on with this other gentleman in a relationship, because she was still mourning the death of her husband for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And she felt like she was breaking that vow because she was raised the old way of being true to the very end. And he wanted just to let her know. And I had to explain it to her. And she starts crying and everything else in the grocery store. And I'm like, well, Spirit, can you just, this is not a very awkward place to be doing this. But,
Well, there's plenty of
we do
Kleenex
what
available.
we have to do in our heart.
Yeah,
And that's
right.
what's important. It doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing or who you are.
Right.
It's living in your heart and helping others is so important. And a lot of people forget that. A lot of people are very gifted, adults and stuff, and they're trying to help their children now because they didn't get that help. But they could get that help just as well. There's places, there's people that are willing to try to help them, but you got to make sure they're doing it from their heart, not their mind. And that's the difference. I'm not, I just say, trying to knock anybody from doing it from their mind, because I guess that's their way of doing it. But I was always taught that makes you second guess things, and it also makes people add their, own emotions and feelings and judgment into it.
Right.
If you do it from your heart and you allow Spirit to come through you, it is free. It is not your judgment, and it all comes out of love and understanding. So any words that come out, they'll hear it, and they'll see it, and know it's true.
So when you say from the heart, just tell the audience a little bit about that. When you say from the heart, you mean just relax and let it just come out and flow as it comes? Is that what you're saying? Or
You allow.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
How do we get out of our heads and into
yes,
our hearts?
there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Traci.
Okay, as an example, people say women's intuition and things, okay? Even on your first judgment, when you meet somebody, picking a color of something, the first thought that comes to your heart is the first thing that comes out. But then you'll sit there and say, well,
Right.
maybe I'll change it to blue instead of the green that I decided. And then you go home with the blue paint and you find out it just doesn't match for what you wanted to do. And then you're like, I should have just
And then
stayed
you
with the
ask
green.
10 people their opinions.
Yes.
Confuse
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm talking about. If you would have just went with your heart and took the original paint you were going to take, everything's good,
Yes.
because it's meant to be. All animals walk in their heart, not their mind. That's why there's not much confusion. That's why no matter if we tear apart their woods and we destroy everything, and you still see them walking through yards and everything else, because they walk in their heart, not their mind. They're not judging us for what we've done to their land.
Right.
They're still living in harmony in their heart. They're forgiving us for what we have done,
Right.
and they're still trying to find, a beautiful way to live.
I know.
And the children that come to the center are very comfortable when a child who's never been there before said, "Come on, let me show you where the dragon lives. Come on, come and see the elves' houses and the fairies' houses, and I'll take you on a tour." And they have no doubts about saying things like that because they know they're accepted, and they have no, they'll play the games that we teach them, and they'll go right through it. And the adults will be like, "Oh, I can't do this. How is this going to work?"
Right.
Well, I did it, but I don't believe it.
imagination.
That's even better.
Yeah.
I just match 5 stones in a row with you, where we'll each hold 3 stones, and one will pick one, and then you have to figure out which one they've picked. I did that 5 times in a row, but I don't believe it because I don't know how I did it. And so when you're in your heart, it's more of allowing. When we're in our mind doing academic things, we have to figure it out and make it work and sort things out. And that's what school teaches us. So many of the things we learn in school teaches us to get out of our heart. And I'm a teacher, so I know. But when we're in our heart, we allow. We don't force it, we don't make it, we don't fit it. We get out of the way. And that's why, like Wildcat said, the emotions and the judgments and all of that aren't there, because we're allowing spirit. We're not working from our emotions. We're not working from what's supposed to be right. We're trusting what we know.
It's kind of like that word gut instinct,
Yes.
right? That's the same thing. Yeah.
Women's intuition.
But it's even more than that, because even in a relationship, say you're in a relationship, the more you're with that person and you connect with that person, you're ending their sentences for them. You're reading them by just knowing what they want something before they even ask. Things like that. And it's, how you say, living in spirit, living in your hearts, connecting together. So we don't have to use words. Everything becomes thought from the heart. It becomes a way of living. When I came to live in towns and cities, I had a hard time because, how you say, I would speak to people with thought and forget to use my words. And they would have a hard time because some of them would look at me like really puzzled, and they knew I said something because they heard me, but they didn't see my lips moving. So I had to, how you say, mimic it at times. So I learned how to use the right words for them.
Wow. Now, do you feel that we're making a shift, that more and more people are opening up to their natural abilities, their natural intuitive abilities?
Mother
Yes.
Earth is making the shift.
Right.
Mother Earth is actually making us all, how you say, be awakened. Because the more she's shifting, we have to be awake and self-conscious of what we're doing, because we need to be reconnected with her in a bigger way and with each other. We need to stop the bickering between cultures and everything else that's going out there, and all of us live together in our hearts to have a better way of life. Because if we don't, Mother Earth is going to completely shift, and then we're going to have to all start all over from the beginning again. And that's what's going to happen. We all know it. A lot of people talk about, you talk about the Egyptians, Incas, the Mayans, there's many cultures that talk about when Mother Earth shifts, this is going to happen. It's been, how do you say, told by people that...
Prophesized.
Yeah, prophesized throughout centuries. It's going to happen because look what we're doing. We're doing everything through our mind.
Yeah.
Look at the gas prices.
But,
We're all worried
yeah.
about the gas prices going up and everything else. But everybody's still out there driving their cars. If everybody would stop driving their cars for 3 days, you would see a big change.
Absolutely.
Yeah. very hard.
And the
But
shift.
nobody wants to make that shift.
And the shift has started. I mean, we have the earthquake in the Midwest, we had the tsunami, we had Katrina. These are all signs that Mother Earth is cleansing herself, that
Right.
she's
Trying to force the
you know,
bring back the
6
balance,
billion
right?
people are too much for me too many for me to hold on to take care of.
Oh, it's the truth. I know, I've heard about this a long time ago.
Will we make it? Will we shift our consciousness fast enough to make a
We'll
change?
shift
We
with her.
can. If we all, how you say, band together and start wanting to live in a better way and start making that difference, there's still time. But is everybody going to be allowed to make themselves shift? Look at how many people out there are in denial. How many people, how you say, that will come for a reading or for Reiki or healings or something like that and say, well, I really don't know what I felt, but it felt good. I'll think about if I'm going to come back.
Yes.
You're right.
But you know what? You know they got a
They have
great
to
deal out
process
of
it themselves too. You can't really
and
push
it's
it.
part of them getting out of their mind and back in their heart.
Yep.
If you would just stop for one moment and feel your heartbeat, put your hand on a tree and hold your hand on your heart still, you'll feel that there's still the same beat. We carry the same beat in our heart, so does a tree.
But
You could feel it.
we don't believe things work unless it's a struggle. We've always been taught everything has to be a struggle.
Right.
And this isn't a struggle. This is just allowing things to be. Just this is how it should be. And like when we started the center, I was living in New York. And I came to Leicester, Massachusetts, and we didn't know a soul. We did not know a soul. We saw the house online and we knew that's the house. And so we came and we bought it, put our money down on it. We didn't go inside of it for 6 weeks after we had put the money down because we knew.
Right.
And so we allowed it to happen and we trusted what we were told. And many people would say, well, you can't buy a house that way. You have to go and inspect it and you have to this and that and the other. But no, we knew. We knew where we were supposed to be. We knew this was the house we were supposed to be in. And it is a place of light. It has 23 windows. You know, it's light in every single room. Even in the basement, there's light. Because that's where we knew we were supposed to be. We didn't follow what society
Right.
says we were supposed to do. We trusted what we were told.
That's beautiful.
If only more people could do that. You're right. It is such a peaceful way of living too. You know, it's
Very much so.
we make the transitions ourselves when we from that to the world back and forth.
Spirit knows the best path for us, and we're always constantly
No,
trying to
it's
oppose our will on it and figure it out. And meanwhile, we're taking many, many detours.
Yes, we are.
It's the native way, but also in the Edgar Cayce readings it says, if you cooperate with spirit, you cannot make a wrong decision. Cannot make a wrong decision. If you walk with spirit, you cannot make a wrong decision.
For our viewers, can you just give us, I know Edgar Cayce, but I don't think a lot of people out there know his work. How has it inspired your work? And
Well, I've learned a lot from I've studied the Cayce readings all of my adult life, and I never, I always looked at them as being an Eastern way of thinking. And many of the readings say, if you want to know about God, then you need to stay in nature, because nature is where spirit is.
Yeah.
Nature shows you what spirit is, the order and the interconnectedness and the dependency, the interdependency. It's all there in nature, and that's what spirit, and that's what the Cayce readings say, which again is exactly what the native teaching is saying. There's so much compatibility between the two, worded differently, but it's the same teaching. He says, if you make all of your decisions from intuition, you will have a much richer life than if you make decisions based on what other people think. You know, so Mr. Cayce was somebody who he was born in 1877, proof that these indigo things, you know, or always with us. And the native people are proof it's not a new thing.
No.
It's a new awareness, but it's not a new concept. It's not a new way of life. And he would give readings. He gave over 14,000 readings, all of which were written down. And many of them use herbs.
Right,
and
healing,
and
yep.
all of his, he was called the
very
father
simple,
of
like, I
holistic
love
medicine because
his-
he used the same kind of medicine as people have used for thousands of years to get people well.
A friend of ours, right? He studied him, and he moved out there from Connecticut to be with them to Virginia Beach. Harry, who's a dear friend of ours, and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. You were talking about the indigo children. Could you tell us about that? Tell the audience about the indigo children. They've heard it and read it, and there's a website about it, but
Well, as we say in our book, Soulful Parenting, we don't really like labels.
right.
We've had children come, parents come and tell us, oh, my child can't be intuitive because child doesn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. So they can't possibly be, because that's the media presentation of what an intuitive child is.
Labeling.
Wow.
So we do not use any labels. We just say your child is intuitive. Your child knows the true self. It's simply a child or person who can know without using the five senses. Anytime we know something that the five senses didn't tell us, that's knowing, that's being intuitive.
Children are amazing like that, and I think that you're right, like that. And we're living in such a chaotic world that the parents, even if they do have an expressed interest in the child's development, it's like a lot of that just falls on deaf ears from the, you know, the busyness of life. And the child, I know I have two very young children. One is 6, she just turned 6, and one is 9, about to be 9, and they're very intuitive, and I'm always encouraging the imagination, and it's amazing what they'll tell you from, you know, what they recall from past lives, and also spirit, you know, talking to spirit.
Even in past lives, I mean, I could tell you back through many, many centuries of my past lives. And in all my past lives, and even in this life, I've always walked in either a warrior or a medicine way. And I've always combined them. Even in this one, it's, for me, making decisions are easy because I just do it through spirit.
Right.
I always trust in spirit. I lived out in Arizona, never knew anybody or anything out this way. My first wife had asked me to bring her out here before she passed away. And I says, let me sit on that. And she goes, what do you mean? I says, I need to sit and counsel with spirit. I said, me and spirit need to talk to decide. She goes, okay. So a day went by, and I had talked to spirit, and spirit says, move. So I gave up everything I've ever known in my way of living out west, packed up our stuff, put it in a U-Haul, and drove out here. And we came out here, we got a new place, and we started. It was very, very different, very different. I never seen mills before. My first job was working in a fabric mill. It was called Anglo Fabrics in Webster. And most of the people there were from Polish, and very few of them spoke English. But I learned how to communicate with them without using words, using hand motions and just doing thoughts. It was beautiful because they allowed themselves to be free too. It's just making a connection. You can do it anywhere with anybody if you allow yourself to. We walked in here. We fell in love with both of you, as well as you fell in love with us.
Mm-hmm.
And you trusted us, and we trusted you. It's how you say it's being aware in your heart and knowing the truth. That, you know, no matter what, none but good's going to come out of this. And that's the important thing.
And in my school, when I used to have a school, everything was from the heart. You know, and the children, someone would walk in and the children would go run to them and say, oh, come, let me show you my school. Let me take you
they felt such
around. We're
pride.
so glad that you came to visit us. You know, the 5-year-olds would answer the phone, you know, we called it a place of challenge, because we challenged them to be their best. And it was, this is the place of challenge. How can I help you? And they knew, and they loved their school. And to the point that one child asked their parent, what have I done wrong? Why are you punishing me? And she says, what do you mean? Well, you don't let me go to school on Saturdays and Sundays. You make me stay home. You know, and so it was like that because everything was out of love. Everything was out of love, and they remembered, they learned, and a lot of the older children would come and say, well, I haven't learned anything because there was no struggle. They didn't have to do that laborious work, and you know, it was all
Compete.
yes, it was just nice. And so they learned, and they didn't even realize it. I would show them things they had written when they first came, and they said, oh, that's horrible. I said, I know, you did write horribly when you first came. She said, but you never said that. I said, no, we just showed you how it could be better. And you did it better, and now look what you can do.
Wow.
And they were just amazed because they didn't realize, because it wasn't
gently
painful.
help them through the natural learning
And they said,
process.
and when we come back, we just pick up where we left off, right? Yeah, because there were no grades, A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. They just worked on something until they learned it. And after a while, they would get bored. They said, well, how do I get to another thing? I said, just show me you know how to do this. Oh, okay. There were none of the games, and you didn't, you know, take a test and it was done. You just did it till you
And
got
that takes
it.
a very heart-centered teacher, because to understand that each child could be at a different level, have different abilities, and to be aware of that instead of the, you know, like assuming, you know, because they're at this grade, they need to learn these things. And, you know, I've seen children who with many special talents just have them overlooked because they're so focused on the academic.
That's right. And after school, the parents would come and we would all sit together and meditate together.
You know, I feel such a peace here tonight, being with you. Do you feel it?
Yes.
So peaceful. I wish the audience could feel this peace. It's like I don't know what to say. I just want to come up and visit you. You know, just so peaceful. I've never experienced this before. You know, like
Well, isn't that what people tell us when they come to the center?
Oh, so
That's
peaceful.
the first thing that comes out of their mouth.
Yeah,
You know, it's that's the way it should always be, though.
I know.
Always be. And it's so important that everybody gets to feel that and know that there's no judgment, there's no competing, there's none of that. It's just being who you are, the best you can be. You know, we were talking about schools. We have a lot of teachers at times that come to the center and ask us to help them and teach them different things where they have problem children in their class. And they know they're gifted and they just want to help that child. So now they're finding other ways of doing it without trying to get in trouble with the school board system and things. Because they still got to follow that fine line. We've had psychiatrists,
Yes. Therapists and priests.
Priests, judges.
And the priest has changed how he does his sermons now. And he does them all from the point of being in the light.
That's wonderful.
So it's important. If you live in your heart and you want to, how you say, express yourself even more, it's easy. It's really not that hard. It's just, how you say, shifting yourself out of your mind and putting yourself back into your heart and allowing yourself to be true to yourself and then to others. Having a connection. Like for me, when I have hard times, I go to the woods. I don't care if I'm right in the middle of the work. You know, I'm done doing a healing or whatever I'm doing, and I need time for myself. I'll tell her, I says, I'll be back. I'll be back 20 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes. Or I'll be back when I get back. And
You recognize your needs. And I think
my needs are important.
That's such something that we're really struggling with, I think, in our society, is that, we're doing, and we don't realize that we have to refuel and get centered. And I feel like, we're running up against dead ends because all this doing isn't really giving us the results that we want.
And society's motto is, the faster we can do it, the more you could do. Just do. I want you to work all day. I want you to do your house stuff all night, and I want you to get only minimum sleep, and I want you to be in first thing in the morning, bright and early, and do it all over again. That's not a way of living. It's not.
Sometimes we frustrate people because we don't keep hours, and we don't always answer the phone, but because we try to take care of ourselves. We teach people how to make their environment an energetically clean environment. And a very funny story with one of the teachers that we work with, who worked with special needs children, and she did all the things that we taught her to do. And another teacher came to her door and said, "Did you get new light bulbs? It's just much brighter in here than it is the other rooms."
Wow.
She didn't know what she was seeing.
Recognize the light.
She didn't know what she was seeing because she was in her mind. She had to put the brightness had to be something about the light bulbs. It couldn't be that the energy was brighter. That's what we're talking about, being in your mind, and not if she had been in her heart, she would have seen why it was brighter.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful story.
We've had people come to the center calling us in desperate needs of almost being, how you say, suicidal and even emotionally breaking down. And we even had to find out where they were, and we would go get them and bring them back to the center, and we would just, do the work on them that was necessary. And, some people can't afford it. So they're like, well, I'm not going to bother because I don't have the money. Well, for us, it's not about the money.
We have the same approach with
the
work. You can't deny somebody because, if they're seeking help, they're intending to be healed, and you can't see them because they can't afford it. That's not...
Exactly. And we look at it this way. The other people that can afford it will make up the difference.
That's exactly what we do in our practice.
And our place is not very big, but it's how you say, sustains a great deal for a lot of people. And that's very important. And to us, that's what the work's about.
Yes.
And to us, it's really not work. It's a way of being.
And then we get those checks in the mail.
Yeah, because it shows up to support. The universe supports the work that you do. Yes.
We have people sometimes that donate gifts to us at times. And, it's like, and we'll go use it to buy like supplies to fix things in the center, or to buy more herbs and stuff, especially for me, because a lot of times I can't go out and pick them in the woods because they're not growing yet in the middle of winter. But springtime, like I've been out in the woods a lot lately, picking and stuff, and teaching people about different medicines that they could use to do different things, just to, how you say, make their hands and their skin smoother and protect it from the sun. How to take the junk that's inside their body from all the toxins that they eat all the time, get that to come out, where they're how you say, more cleansed and better. They don't have to drink it. They could just put it on their body and let it set, and then take it off later. There's many, many different things, and it's all natural, and it's the only way to be, because today we got to put all these chemicals and stuff even in our water. Our water's not purified anymore.
No.
It goes through so much bleach and everything else to be able to drink it. How is that good for our body?
No.
Especially when we're mostly all water anyways.
That's what I had read, an article on a study that was done in some major cities about the chlorinated water, and how the rate of miscarriages were so high in the cities that had the chlorinated water, that was at such a high level, and everyone thinks, okay, we're killing, the bacteria, and we're all the germs, we have to eradicate them. But here you have this tiny life that's struggling to take hold, you know, and the effect that that chlorine has on that too.
It's killing that life too.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that, how you say, that bacteria, those things, because
Right.
those are always
Feeds,
been
yeah.
there. We had to balance it with all things. Us natives have always lived off the land and never had sicknesses of like
With
we
this
do these
proportion,
days.
Yeah.
You know, our sicknesses were small things, a fever, a toothache, small things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were very easily cured. These days, on the reservations and stuff, we're fighting a lot of, I say, diabetes and
Mm.
And
lung
alcohol.
problems and
Yeah.
the alcohol that's killing people. You know, natives, it's very hard for us because alcohol doesn't get along with our blood, and we're easy to become an alcoholic, and we're easy to die from it. It's more than any other culture.
And probably because you have a natural adversity to it, because
Yes.
you've never had it in your, you haven't had
To deal
the
with it.
history of the culture, you know, that
You know,
many.
And people talk
previous
about, you know,
generations.
they say the peace pipe. They call it a peace pipe. Technically, it's a ceremonial pipe. It's for spiritual gatherings and spiritual connection. And, you know, and the herbs and stuff we put in there are all natural, and they come from Mother Earth. And they've always grown on this land. They
Right,
weren't
they've been
imported
given
or
to us.
nothing. And it's not tobacco that's in there. It's different types of sages and stuff like that, and herbs. And what it does is cleanses you and allows you to speak true, with no lies.
And
So-
we'll do that at the center. We will
that's
have
nice.
ceremonies where we will partake of different herbs and things, and it's really wonderful to see what's happening. Like in one class, almost every person in the class became aware of their emotional ruts, their programmed responses to things. When I see this, I'm going to react this way. And they became aware of it, and they all brought it back to class, and it became a very interesting class as everybody was speaking from their rut, so to speak, and their programmed ways, and they changed it. And so now that class is working on forgiving themselves. We do a lot of art work in the classes, and we do a lot of healing, and they learn how to heal each other in a way to help that person who was on the table, help them forgive themselves. And they were doing their healing in that way. So and they felt such love from the other people in the class, and they were just able to let go of those things that they couldn't forgive themselves, or at least get on that path to start to forgive themselves. Because some people have a lot that they resist forgiving themselves for.
Yeah.
We know guilt, we know pain, so we stay with it because it's what we know. Love and acceptance, that's something new, so we have to learn a new pattern.
You know, that can actually
Yeah,
be
it's very
foreign.
true.
Love and acceptance, being afraid of being happy, being afraid of being loved. My daughter is very, she's intuitive, and she does a lot of soul traveling in dreams. She did a vision quest up in Massachusetts. It was very profound for her. She almost lost her life, but the guide was watching her all this at all times and rescued her at the moment that she needed. But it was wonderful. She loves it. She loved it very much. I've thought about it too in the Sweat Lodge and so forth. I love your ways. I just have to say this. I've always loved American Indians. I've always loved your ways. I always loved your spirituality. The fact that you lived it with the earth, you know.
In harmony.
I just love it.
I greatly honored. And to me, it's the only way I'd ever want to live. It's sometimes it becomes lonely because there's very few of us left. But it's a beautiful thing, and Creator allowing us to be able to share that knowledge and that wisdom with others, it's very important. The class she was talking about, these ladies trusted me with their lives. I made some, how you say, a drink for them, this medicine that they were supposed to drink, and it helped them in many different ways. And they trusted that. Although it tasted gross, they
The
took
faces
it.
were wonderful.
They took it, and they were honored by me allowing them to be able to partake, and I was honored by them. And even when I see them even now, they're very grateful. And I said, no, it goes both ways.
It does.
I'm grateful. And all that you're giving to me, give it to Creator, because if it wasn't for Creator, I wouldn't be here to be able to help.
That's true.
So we should always remember to honor all things, Mother Earth down here and Creator. Because without those, we have nothing. We have nothing.
You're right.
And even science says that, because all the elements that are on this planet were created on the sun. So we could have nothing without Father Sun, and we would have nothing without Mother Earth providing everything that we need, the air, our food, our shelter, our clothes. How can we harm her when she gives us so much?
But we forget. People forget, and they can't help that. And a big thing also is that we got to always remember, we are the caretakers of Mother Earth.
Right.
We're here
It's a
to,
relationship, just
yes,
like a relationship between two
just
people.
between
right?
us. We just met. We're not married or nothing. We have a bond. Do you have a need? I'm there to help. If I have a need, I'm sure you would offer to help too. And that's the way we should all be. I see people that are broke down on the side of the road. I pull over to ask them if they need help. Most people these days, oh, I'm too busy. I got to get to work. I got to go here. And it's really not that important. They forget to love each other.
That's
Our
so true.
sisters, our brothers.
Yeah, and we're just so busy feeding fear. It's, it's ingrained in
Yes.
us through the media, not to talk. Like I, for instance, this is a good conversation. My children have gone, in school, stranger danger. That's the big thing, like learning stranger danger. And I have to feel like I need to reprogram them when they come home after these discussions, because I tell them, you'll know, you will know. Just listen to your body. You will know if something is dangerous.
Spirit will tell you.
You can't assume that everybody is out there is going to harm you and that you shouldn't speak to them. I said people can help you and people are there for you, and we have to form bonds with, we have to get to know one another and love one another. And I feel like I'm constantly trying to erase this message, that they shouldn't talk to strangers.
But that's where, how you say, society teaches people to be in their minds and not their heart. Because if you're in your mind, then you're going
you
to...
have to make it broad.
Yes, you're going to fear
You have to
everything and
generalize it.
everybody. And then there's so much that you're going to lose. Because then you're not going to honor your wife or your anybody that you're with, because you're too busy doubting them and fearing what they're going to be doing elsewhere and all this stuff, and it makes everybody uneasy. If you live in your heart, there's nothing to fear. Nothing. Because
I think too, if we understand that, we're infinite beings, that there really isn't a life and death, I think that helps to shift us as well, because, it's that fear of dying, it's that fear of death.
But see, us natives, we don't fear death. To us, it's an honor. It's a good day. Because you know what?
Yeah.
We die from this shell, but we're in spirit. There's no more limitations. The only limitations we have are in this flesh. It allows us to only do certain things.
Right.
In spirit, there is no limitations. We could do anything we want. So
That's
it's
one
a
of the
celebration.
That's one of the reasons why I work in hospice, is to help people understand what's happening to them as their bodies begin to weaken and they become more and more in the spirit world. And it's very reassuring to them. One man, when I helped him get to a place of relaxation, and as he was there, he was telling me thought to thought, I really like it here, do I have to come back? And I said, while you're on my watch, you have to come back. But that's where you're going to be. when your body passes,
Right.
that's where
The
you're going to
form
be.
starts to
Right.
develop.
Yeah, and he just, you know, so it made it easier for him to make the transition because he already visited where he was going to go, and he wasn't frightened of it. But I also wanted to say, one thing that Sonia Choquette teaches that goes back to what you were talking about with the stranger danger thing, and we teach it too, is you don't look to what the parents are going to say or to what society, what does spirit say? I had a young man with me yesterday. He kept saying, well, what do I do with this and what do I do with that? I said, I can't give you those answers. You have to ask Spirit. Spirit will give you those answers. You don't need to be dependent on anyone because Spirit gives you the answers, and you cannot make a wrong decision when you're walking with Spirit. And that's very important.
When you say spirit, you mean
your heart.
in your heart.
That's
Your
where Spirit speaks.
Okay.
I mean, even in science,
I
science
want the audience
says
to understand.
that our heart has 5 times the electromagnetic energy of the brain. The heart makes decisions for the body that the brain's not involved with. This is science speaking.
Right.
So they're beginning to catch up
Yeah,
for what
quantum physics
the
is
data
really
people
bridging
have
that.
known for
Right.
thousands of years.
However, you have to convey the message.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, whatever makes them, how you
Whatever.
say listen.
Exactly.
And for natives, living in our hearts is the only way to ever be. Walk in honor. Be proud of who you are. Always listen to Creator and Spirit. Because it's important. Because that is the only way to be. You know, I've come across people and say, oh, I'm afraid to be alone. I says, I could take you out right in the middle of the woods
And you're not.
and leave you. And you're never alone.
Never alone, right?
Never.
You can feel lonely, but never be alone.
Yeah. But even when you're feeling lonely, if you just think of a beautiful spot, a beautiful place, a beautiful thing that's deep in your heart, then you will not feel alone. You will not feel lonely. Because you'll remember that you're grateful and thankful for all that's around you.
And we all have our guides and spiritual
Yes.
guides, our teachers, our animals, all always with us all the time. And
People
they
forget.
help us, I know. They do. It's a shame. And when I've taught about reincarnation, I was surprised that some people don't want to know about that. They don't like the concept. Why? It tells you you're eternal. You are forever, and you don't have to come back if you don't want to. But it's a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
It explains life. The people.
Well,
It's the fear.
Yeah,
it's only
the fear.
Western civilization that doesn't believe in it. Almost every other culture does, all around the world.
Well, I think there's been a little bit of brainwashing too, in terms of, like, you know, the thought that if we believe in reincarnation, that we have all the time we need to make up for our mistakes, which in essence we do. But if you get to the heart of reincarnation, like, I know on a personal level that I feel like I need to get it right in this lifetime so that I'm not repeating karmically patterns throughout other lifetimes.
Right. You want
and
to
I think
change.
that, yeah,
So if you do come back, it can be better.
right.
You want to keep getting better. Right? You want to do this all over again? I don't think so.
I know there's
No.
some things I definitely want to do.
Do you want to do this all
It's
over again?
learning different lessons.
Absolutely.
And when you learn different lessons on your path, it allows you to, how you say, come back and choose a different one.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some of us choose paths that are very challenging in this life. You know, people that are wheelchair bound and things like that. And you're
Right,
like,
real limitations.
why do I gotta live life this way? Why not? It's beautiful. Look at the beauty of it. You might be limited because you can't walk, but you're gifted in many other ways, and you can do a lot more than most other people can't.
Right.
That's true.
So, I mean, you got to look at the beauty of all things, and people forget those things. People talk about, you know, they call them what, handicapped people,
Handicap, yeah.
or disabled. They are very gifted.
They've learned to rely
They-
on other senses
Yes.
and other abilities.
And if you're very in tune with them, you could understand so much. They have a whole different language, a whole different way of looking at things. They see a lot of different energies, feel things that most people could never understand. They'll feel your emotions because of the vibration of it. They'll know if you're sad. They act upon it. all these different things. People are not realizing it. They're just slowly, science is slowly starting to, how you say, catch up.
We work with a woman who had extraordinarily abusive parents, and you would say, why would she choose these parents? But that's what gave her her strength, and it also what developed her gifts, because that's how she learned to cope.
Right.
She learned to travel. She learned to, oh, this is happening, well, let me just leave. I'm not going to stick around and be here for this. And so she learned many of her gifts through this, and she understands that now. And even though it was horrible to go through, she sees all the good that came from it.
And I think a lot of people who've had journeys that have been difficult have chosen them to grow in compassion and to be able to relate to others and help them to heal. I think that.
We're running out of time, and I want to say something before we do our closing things, that wouldn't you all love to go out to the place of light and to visit with these wonderful people?
Yeah,
I think you should experience this. It's wonderful. Just being in their company is wonderful. And we'll tell you at the end of the show how to get in touch with them.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
can
let
bring
you know
up
how to
your
get in
email.
touch with them, because this has been so wonderful being with you. I'm so glad you came. Thank you so much. There it
It's
is,
our
A
honor.
Place of Light. And it's area code 508-892-8928. And the website is www.placeoflight.net. And if you need this information, again, you can get in touch with Traci or I,
Right.
and we'll give you this information if this went on too fast for you. You really should experience this. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
It's my honor.
Oh, it's our
my honor.
honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is my honor.
Thank you, Susan, so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll give you our contact information. You can reach us at.
This time went by so fast. I didn't even
I
get to
know.
half the things I wanted to ask.
Well, if you have questions for the show, you can email them to healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. For our show schedules, you can visit these two websites, www.entirebeing.com or www.rosemarylachance.com. And if you need to contact us, Rosemary's number is 203-627-7966, and my number is 203-232-3405. Okay, and
I was going to read something else, but I opened the book, and this one hit my eye, and I think it's very appropriate right now, and it's actually a small prayer. It says, "Dear God, I ask now that only what is the highest and the best for all concerned will happen, and I leave it to you to know and to decide what that is. Amen." From the Book of Courage.
Thank you for being here with us.
For joining us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you have any questions, just get in touch with us.
Thank you. See you next time.
As you look out through the window to the world you have made, always know you are the vision. See the truth, darkness fade.